101.1 HIRT AFM, Roatan, Honduras, Blue Wave Radio. Now it's time for the Roatan Real Estate Roundup, presented by Remax Realty. When you want to learn about real estate, listen here. And now the host of Roatan Real Estate Roundup, Russ Regentz.
Morning, and thank you for joining us for the Roatan Real Estate Roundup, sponsored by our partners here at Remax. I'm your host, Russ Regentz, and today we have Tiffany Hager and Michelle Brewer with us.
Good morning, Russ. Morning, Russ.
Good morning, y'all. All right, so our today's topic we're going to talk about is some of the differences in buying and selling real estate in North America versus Honduras. So, ladies, let's go right into this. Talk to me about choosing a realtor. How does that process go?
Well, in choosing a realtor in Roatan, both of us were realtors, myself in Oregon, she was in Canada, so we have some experience in that. Here in Roatan, unlike the U.S. And Canada, there are educational requirements and a lot of hoops that you have to go through to become a licensed realtor. Here, it's much easier to become a realtor. So choosing a realtor within a company such as Remax that has a solid reputation and background and a lot of support and information that we glean from each other, and also, the support that we have within Remax is important. Now, we are part of the Roatan Realtors Association, which is unique because as far as being a part of the Roatan Realtors Association, we actually do abide by the same guidelines as within the States through NAR, the National Realtors Association. And so we abide by the same code of ethics. We act as fiduciaries for our clients, and that's really important. Additionally, we have access to the MLS. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit more, Michelle.
Yeah, no, and it's kind of unique. I mean, it's similar to Canada in a way because we do have an MLS down here now. So before I started selling real estate in Roatan, I did some on the mainland, and they did not have an MLS there. So Roatan is actually kind of mimicking North America in the sense of having the services that North America does have with the MLS and being able to search for things electronically, as opposed to just kind of guessing, what's available for sale. Like trying to sell something on the mainland back then was like almost impossible.
Right.
And just for our listeners and audience that don't know, MLS stands for what?
Multiple listing services. So that, and the same as in the States. So we actually use software that is used also in the States through the MLS system. So yeah, it is definitely mimicked after, the North American system.
And it's really good. I ask a big kudos to the guys that started the MLS here on Roatan. I mean, that's going to make things so much easier for realtors to be able to price things, to find homes. It just makes it so much more succinct, I guess. Is that a word?
Yeah. And it is also that allows all of our listings to be visible throughout worldwide. So, that's a big difference. We're not, relying on the word of mouth kind of thing. But you will see a lot of people advertising things on the internet as a realtor. They will call themselves realtors, but in the States, you can't do that. You have to be licensed.
Yeah.
And insured. And there's a lot of liability. And like I mentioned, the code of ethics that we stand by as working as fiduciaries for our clients, working for their best interest is really important. So, choosing a realtor as part of the Roatan Realtors Association, you're going to get a higher quality service behind it, not only just the technical part, but standards, which Remax definitely have.
Well, I think that, what I hear out of that is choose wisely up front. Take your time, do due diligence, start with the big, the strong companies that have internal training programs, et cetera, and adherence to ethics, and then go from there. It's kind of what it is. So, all right. So in Honduras, we've seen laws change. Who can buy in Honduras? How much acreage can they buy? Can you live here full time? Tell us a little bit about exactly what us as North Americans can purchase.
Well, for one, much like the U.S., you can own free and outright completely with no restrictions, except for, if you are living in a housing development, they have restrictions and or, codes for the municipality as far as building But otherwise, you can own free and clear, fee simple here, just like you can in the States, which is really unique. A lot of places that's not true. For instance, Mexico, you can own the structure, but you lease the land, and then you can't transfer that land. My father was in a situation like that.
My brother's in one right now.
So, we're really unique in that way. And there are other places also in the world that you can own, but you can't actually have residency. You can't actually live there. We're very unique that way. You can own completely fee simple, and then you can sell it whenever you want to.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I think one of the only restrictions, with purchasing land here as a foreigner, for example, or an expat, is you are limited to the amount that you can buy as an individual. So it's like 0.74 of an acre. If you want to buy more than that, then it's no problem. You just get a corporation here, and you can buy land through the corporation as long as you have a Honduran as one of the shareholders on the corporation,
or if you have residency.
So, right. Yeah, in our situation, we had 2 purchases 13 years apart. So in the very first one we had to have a corporation. We established that, we have that. In our second one, laws had changed subsequently, and we were able to actually just purchase it outright. And it's interesting because the differences, it did simplify things on our house a little bit. So good. I'm glad to see these things are kind of, maturing, and the market is maturing. So good.
Right. And
all right. Hey,
recommend that people do get residency. It's a little bit harder to re-enter into Honduras for any length of time. So it's best if you do get residency ultimately anyways, just for the ease of being able to come back and forth if a person is going back and forth.
For us.
And you guys, you all bring up a really good point, and you've seen this in a lot of the chat rooms and et cetera. And we were not going to go into heavy details about it because it's a good topic for a different time, but the government is wanting us to be residents. They are wanting us to make sure they know who is coming in and out of their country, how much are they coming. They do want some more data. And I agree, residency, if you plan on buying a home here, definitely factor in residency's expense and cost into that purchase, because our government here is definitely pushing us all that way. You're absolutely right. So, okay, so let's talk about the magic thing that everybody talks to realtors about: commissions. We pay. So in this transactions here, is it similar in the U.S.? Who's paying commissions? And honestly, why are they so much?
Well, like in the U.S., the seller does pay the commissions, and it is in the States, it's common to be between 5 and 6%, and that's split. So the buying agent and the listing agent split that. So here we're at 10%. So the buyer agent and the listing agent each earn 5%. So that's the similarity as in the States. However, here, your realtor does a whole lot more. And if anybody that's ever bought here can testify to that, we don't have title companies here. And I know this was addressed on an earlier episode with Kyle and Mike, and they, went into that detail. So I don't want to go into that too much, but we do act as your title company. We're going to make sure that property is free and clear of any encumbrances, no liens, no judgments against it, and even looking at, if there are easements and all of the details as far as looking at how to prorate all of the taxes and doing every detail within that transaction, just as a title company would.
Yeah.
So we have a lot more responsibility, but also we work as concierge too.
Yeah. We take people to the airport, we take them shopping, we take them to their hotel. We help them out with, especially somebody who hasn't really been here before, they're going to have a lot of questions. So it's not unusual to be fielding questions from people for 6 months before they even come here, and trying to help them, get their footing in and make sure they have a great trip first time around.
My current buyers are buying a car right now. I'm helping them with that whole process. So, there's a lot of details when you move to a foreign country, and a lot of surprises typically that, people don't realize, that the differences until they get here, or the challenges that might arise. We definitely walk our clients through a lot of the process, of just resettling.
Yeah. Because
well, in a lot of instances, to your guys' point, a lot of instances, you two are going to be the main point of contact, or in some instances, the very first friend a lot of people who are expats moving here have. So your role is definitely expanded more than just buying and selling or transacting any sort of a real estate transaction. It's much more in depth. So, okay. So let me ask a question. All right. And I'm going to bring this up. And Michelle, you and I have talked about this before. NAR, National Association of Realtors. This year, there was a large settlement. And basically what had happened is that the largest real estate brokerages in the United States were found to have colluded to keep commissions artificially high. It was a big issue. It's really caused ripples to go through the United States real estate market and globally. Tell me a little bit about that impact here in Honduras. Because again, we've already talked, there's definitely some more services that you all have to execute, thus costs in commissions. But talk about that NAR settlement for a little bit. What are you seeing?
Well, for one, it is only impacting the United States. It isn't up in Canada. It doesn't impact us here at all. So the way that has played out currently in the States is business as usual, actually. So what's happening is people are now, they can't put in the MLS how much they are going to offer the buyer's agent as far as commission is concerned. They can post it on their website. They can post it anywhere else on the advertisement for that property. And so what's happening is that, for instance, actually a referral I'm working on currently in the States, they signed the listing agreement with the understanding that they're paying 5.5% commission, so that they're still paying the buyer's agent that amount, because nobody's going to bring a buyer to a home if they're not going to get paid or compensated to see that transaction all the way through. So ultimately, everything is pretty much business as usual, just a whole lot more paperwork, is my understanding of what's happening in the States.
Well, I think, and that's a good point, and what I heard from you, Tiffany, is transparency, and it's, again, I think it's a situation to where, especially in the United States, there's a lot of industries over the last 10, 15, 20 years that have become more transparent. My former industry of the financial planning industry back in 2012, now we just had to disclose all the costs to our client. And that was a good thing, because it allowed people to really, first off, it allowed consumers to have more transparent information. It allowed us to separate ourselves, the good advisors, or in your case, realtors, versus the people who just dip their toe willy-nilly, who don't really understand the true complexities of what they're doing. I see that's a positive thing. So,
yeah.
Good.
I think the transparency is good. I think that's why I think it's important to explain to people what the commissions, what you're doing to earn that commission. I think that the amount of time and paperwork that it's requiring agents and brokerages in the States, it's pretty intense. So, to make these changes are huge, and it's ultimately business as usual.
Right. Good. So one of the things I'll bring up, and we had this little this question on our list here, major differences in property financing options. We've talked about that in great length. And in fact, Melina and I are having a whole different conversation here this week about options for Honduran business owners and Honduran people in general.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go talk a little about that. Cash is king, in other words. That's the kind of the bullet point to know. So let's just kind of leave it at cash is king. So I want to go to our last question.
Okay.
You all are helping people open up their next part of their life. That's huge. A lot of times that's been a dream for a couple or an individual for 10, 20, 30 years of their life. What should people expect about after buying their home here in Roatan? What would you tell everybody after the sale is actually done?
Breathe. Breathe. Yeah.
Focus your Zen.
Because it is it's a whole different world. Okay. So there's going to be different things that'll happen, especially if you move here during rainy season. There's going to be a lot of different challenges that you're not expecting that wouldn't happen in non-rainy season. So I would just tell people, you moved here to relax. You moved for a different lifestyle. So embrace and enjoy the new lifestyle, and don't try and turn it into North America. That's what I would tell people.
Have patience. Patience. Yeah. I mean, everything does take a little longer, and everything takes a little, more effort. Getting your propane tank filled or getting your water delivered, and without addresses here, the description of where you live is important, and how to convey that, and we do through RE/MAX help our clients transfer over the name for RACO, which is really hard. What people don't realize is when your utilities, Roatan Electric Company, RACO, has a requirement to be able to transfer name. You have to show ownership of the home. So unlike in the States or other places, you even as a renter, you can transfer the utilities in your name that same day, and then you can get online and pay your bill. Here, it's a whole different process, and it can take months, but, just understanding that it will happen, and there is a way to still pay your bill with that number, that you have, your account number.
Yeah.
But, just understanding that, the process, and it is challenging. And, I love that RE/MAX provides that service to our clients, because it's a challenging one to go into the office and prove your ownership of the house.
Yeah, the back office staff in RE/MAX is like, they do so much for us. And it's great to have them taking care of that stuff for our clients.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. Yeah, and one of my best friends, one of my closest friends, 2 or 3 months after we had moved here full time, he said, "Hey, what's the biggest thing that you've had to learn?" And I told him point blank, I have become an expert at WhatsApp. I can run a business on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
WhatsApp before you get here.
Yeah, communicate. And I put together a list of things for my clients to bring, and what to stuff in your suitcase, what to ship down, what to expect when you're buying homes in vacation kind of destinations, even in the States. But by and large, in the States, it's not as common to buy furnished homes. Here, most of our properties are sold furnished. Obviously, it's much harder to ship things back to the States than it would be to bring it in. So, the homes come furnished, but obviously you're going to want things. And some of the things I tell people is, a potato peeler, a can opener, and good sheets.
The potato peeler, I'm sorry, that cracked me up. That's so true.
We spent hours the other day with one of my clients looking for potato peelers. So there are certain little things that you can stick in your suitcase, and, having the patience and understanding that you can't access everything here. So some things you're going to want to bring down. Other things you can have shipped down. There are some, we do have good shipping companies that consolidate and ship. So, you can get things shipped, but what to bring in a container, what to ship through, a shipping company as Max Shipping does, or what to stuff in your suitcase.
All right. That's been great stuff. Y'all, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been my pleasure always, getting to talk to Michelle and Tiffany. We always learn something with these sessions. So this has been the newest episode of the, Blue Wave Radio's Roatan Real Estate Roundup, sponsored by our partners over at RE/MAX. So again, as you're making those decisions, you'll hear me say it every single episode, engage good quality realtors, and our partners at RE/MAX are definitely some of them on the island prior to coming here and falling in love. So make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row and you're doing this so it's as smooth and as easy as you can possibly make it. So Michelle, Tiffany, thank you all very much for from joining us. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, Russ.
Thank you for listening. Remember, when you come to Roatan, one of the best ways to see the island and its beauty is a real estate tour. Reach out to RE/MAX. Listen next week at this time for the Roatan Real Estate Roundup on Blue Wave Radio.